Medical aid schemes can often be so confusing. There seem to be so many different options available. We've invited Damian McHugh from Momentum Health to come and unpack it all for us. Damian, when one is looking to choose a medical aid scheme, what should one look out for?
But the most important thing is, does it have benefits that meet your needs? Is it affordable? Is it sustainable? I think often some of us can buy a medical scheme and some of them aren't financially stable and they can go, you need them to be able to pay your claims in the future. So that's another important consideration. One which often consumers forget about is how financially stable is the medical scheme as well. So I guess those three things.
But now there seem to be so many different options. There's comprehensive and hospital plans. What are these and what's the difference between all of them?
A hospital plan really just provides cover for you when you're hospitalized, either voluntarily or in emergency. Outside of that, the day-to-day stuff, doctor, dentist, nothing.
Okay.
You get a savings plan, exactly the same as the hospital plan, but now it's got savings added to it. And those savings then help you pay for doctor, dentist, physio, whatever the out-of-hospital stuff is, medicine. Comprehensive says when the savings runs out, there's a bit more cover that we give you. And those generally come at a much higher price. But that cover again just makes the day-to-day bit much bigger. The traditional options, which is the old sort of way of doing medical schemes, gives you set stuff per benefit category. I get 10 visits to the doctor. I get 1,500 rands worth of medicine. I get X for dentistry. When any one of those values runs out, I've got no more cover for that thing. I still might have my GP visits, but I've run out of stuff for medicine. But the disadvantage of those traditional things, whatever I don't use, doesn't carry over. In a savings account environment, if I don't spend the money in my savings account, it carries over to the following year. So my benefit sort of can run 1 year from the other.
And if it happens that for whatever reason I get hospitalized, am I guaranteed that the hospital is going to cover my entire bill for my stay in the hospital?
Again, depends on the hospital plan. Generally, they look to cover everything, but we have something in the medical aid industry which we call the medical aid rate.
Okay.
Doctors can charge above that rate. So if your medical aid option covers everything the doctor charges, it'll cover everything. But some medical aids or some doctors charge above that medical aid rate, and some medical aids have a higher rate at which they pay, at 100%, some at 200, some at 300. So you need to make sure that the option you're buying, the hospital plan you're buying, still can give you the cover that you want. If you want a very expensive hospital plan, you can find them and they'll cover more in hospital than a cheaper one.
Now, with the medical aid rates, is that information that I would be privy to from the word go? If I'm trying to buy a particular option, are they going to tell me from the beginning, this is what the medical aid rate is and this is what your doctor's going to charge you?
The option you buy, in the benefit that you see, in the brochures that you see, it will tell you what it covers at 100 or at 200 or at 300. It'll actually tell you. So that you will know. Then you need to understand what the doctor will charge you. And doctors don't have to charge us at 100 or 200. They can charge above that. We often see that. So we try, as the medical aid, to negotiate with certain doctors that if you go to this grouping of doctors, they'll only charge you this, so that you know everything's covered in full if you go to that doctor. What we do at Momentum is when you phone in for your pre-authorization, we will tell you, if you use this doctor, there's a chance that you're not going to get covered. So you'll know that up front.
What about if I come into a medical aid scheme with a chronic condition? Is that covered?
Every single medical aid option, irrelevant of whether it's a hospital plan, savings, whatever, as we've spoken about, has to cover 26, and if you include the diabetes as 2 illnesses, 1 and 2, it's 27 chronic conditions, what we call prescribed minimum benefits or PMBs. We have to cover those at least. Some options, the more expensive ones, cover more than those 27. So you need to tell me, what chronic condition do I have? If it's one of the 27, you can join any option you like, because every medical aid option has to cover those chronic conditions. If it's outside of those, then you might need to buy a different type of option.
Now finally, Damian, what would your recommendations be for when one is trying to choose an option?
The most important thing in choosing a medical scheme is understand what your needs are. Not your friends. Don't go and ask him. It's like saying when my car breaks down, I'm going to go to the butcher. It makes no sense. Take it to people who understand it. So find what your needs are and then build a plan around yourself that caters for your need.
Well, thank you so much, Damian.
It's a great pleasure.
It's important to understand you and your family's current health situation in order to choose the correct option when looking at medical aid schemes. Get informed and get the best possible medical care for when you'll need it most.